All right. Hey, everybody.
Howdy! I'm going to start this. So we've got that going. All right. All right. So I'm going to just kick in where we left off with the expanded world of living. I have much more content. In fact, I've got more content than we can cover, but there's no hurry. We've got no agenda. It's just free-flowing. Something whispers in your ear to stop and talk about something. Let's do that.
Okay.
All right. So where we left off was level 3 manifestation. We were doing some speculation. So level 3 manifestation main ingredients are active imagination, will, intent, and the confidence to wield it. As was mentioned, any new experience must begin with imagination. As our HLE set the stage for our experience in this world of creation, we establish a starting point, which is typically where you are at the moment, and an end point, that being a future state. Seeing, feeling, and believing in your designated endpoint is crucial, for this is how you establish your will to achieve that end state, followed by your intent to obtain it. Whether or not you realize it, this is how you live your life by 1, creating start and end points, 2, conjuring your will to achieve the end state, 3, wielding your intent to obtain the end state, by 4, beginning your experience towards your objective, and 5, traveling that path you set and adjust accordingly. Our situation, as it stands now for us in base living, revolves around our imagination limited to 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 week of the same repetitive, monotonous, and soul-limiting task of base living. How much of your living follows the trend of your prior living? No one, not even you, is to blame for this lack of imagination. We simply allowed it to be put to sleep so that we could experience base living, or better yet, base existence. Now it's just a matter of coaxing our imagination out of its slumber by willing it in small doses back into our lives. If we were meant to subsist and persist at a drone level, we wouldn't be possessed of an imagination. To expand beyond base living, we must symbiotically partner with our imagination to envision ourselves living beyond the normal. What does that look and feel like? You guessed it, I hope. I can't tell you. My imagination only holds my houseplants, so get your own. Luckily, there are movies and novels that provide us with some decent examples, although there are also plenty of limiting, bleak, and dark variety, which we'll bypass. So these include Star Trek, fairy tales, witches, sorcerers, mages of the light, superheroes, etc. Even those that have some evil, darkness, or other qualities that we don't want, you can be used as stepping stones to awakening your imagination. Just imagine your world with what you consider good, leaving out the bad, or maybe you and your light forces helped shed the dark forces of their evil, bringing wondrous times to your world. The possibilities truly are infinite, and why we came here, to seek them out and explore them. To do that, we'll need to outgrow any archetypes, concepts, or examples that we've ever heard of, like superhero, savior, gods, witch, warlock, evil, angel, villain, etc. For they are someone else's ideas. But we'll get there our own way. For now, pick your world of tomorrow and imagine it materializing around you. Before you know it, base living may have just been a bad dream you had. So, so let's get real honest about our current state of our starting point. Many of you think, being the key word, you know it. But to obtain a true sense of your state, thinking will only check in with your memory and leave you with what you're programmed to know according to your beliefs, which override the other tools you have access to for unveiling your true state. Everything, and I mean everything within your bubble of awareness, is positioned by you to inform you of your current state. From the good to the bad, dark to light, happy to sad, who you spend time with, responsibilities, where you set your keys each day, the news, things that draw you in or push you away. These are all symbols to be translated, not by pre-programmed instructions as we do today, but by sensing their purpose from the heart of your feeling. This isn't just for Jedi Knights. These messages in their bottles were sent by you for you to decipher your status. You can select to continue your logic thinking of your past to explain them away, or you can elect to shine the light of your flashlight on these "you are here" signposts. A very interesting thing occurs once you elect the latter. You begin to sense where your true will and intent is pointing from where you thought it was leading you. This is because base living thought will predominantly utilize programmed decision tree analysis to provide you with a watered down shadow of your will and intent, like getting a high def signal on your standard definition TV. Whereas once you enhance your processing of the input signals beyond base living analysis, you start to get the picture. So, how do you do that? Again, no house plans here, only concepts. Create pauses within your analysis, your actions, your regular thinking, and your day, where you designate the pause duration 1 second, 10 seconds, 1 minute, 10 minutes, 1 hour, etc., to break out of conventional program thought and engage unconventional, unprogrammed, unnormal, alternative sensing of the moment to what if and what could be, and then see what develops. If I told you what to do or think, I'd be programming you. It can be that simple for some people. Now, close your eyes. Okay, how many of you closed your eyes or thought about it?
I did.
That's how simple it can be. The thing is, we're all being programmed or following programmed instructions virtually all the time. Funny thing is, that's not a bad thing. Our starship was made to operate under that premise. The real blunt question to ask is, whose programming is your ship following? If you're like me and most other base living LLEs, your autopilot is flying your craft as close as possible to your will and intent as it can, according to the instructions it was given by your HLE for base living circling of your jump off point or portal to expanded living. Your base living autopilot isn't a bad guy. Actually, he's kind of cute. If you're ready to take over the controls and start programming your own ship, then he or she has done their job. If not, trust that he or she is doing their job to get you to your expanded living jump off point. Or they're purposely screwing up so you'll get frustrated and say, "Give me the remote." And no, throwing the baby autopilot out with the bathwater. Things are as awesome, stagnant, frustrating, laborious, dare I say, revolting, evil, dark, glorious, rabble-rousing, fun-loving, and harmonious or disharmonious as they need to be to get you to the church on time. No, really, oh, sorry, a little David Bowie. But to your expanded living jump-off point. As you begin to clear away the debris and detritus of programmed thinking and beliefs, your imagination will stir, providing you with glimpses of your true state, and most importantly, possible expansive, dreamlike vistas you once thought as unbelievable. As the band Sugarland sings about, don't settle for anything less than everything. No, I won't sing it. I don't take those kind of requests. Believe me, you don't want it. Use these early glimpses as stepping off stones to the riverbank of your active imagination. Then build confidence to fill out alluring details and share your concepts and examples with those around you. You may be surprised at how receptive they are. For some of them may have already been flying similar corridors, awaiting your signal by blinking your lights at them.
Interesting.
I ran out of notebook. I'm into new notebook now. So let's discuss some ideas on what someone might, and I emphasize might, be experiencing as their imagination begins to open new pathways into their creativity. This will, by no means, be an exhaustive list, and any specifics mentioned should only serve for you to explore your own variations on these symbolic representations. Think of them as activation sparks into cultivating your own fertile grounds of imagination. First, you may want to have your thesaurus on standby due to your overuse of words and phrases such as wow, weird, not normal, unusual. How? Did you see that? It wasn't like that a second ago. That's impossible. Unbelievable. I need to sit down. I need a drink. Is it still there? We're going to need a bigger boat. Holy shizzle. What the okay, I think you get the idea. Beginning occurrences may appear synchronistic. Recurring numbers, recurring themes, right time, right place, supernatural incidents, etc. At first, you may attempt to explain these occurrences away, but eventually, as you open yourself to this new world view, you'll roll with them and maybe even perceive an accompanying wink from your HLE or a mentoring brother/sister enhanced LLE. So consider this a bolo. Be on the lookout for the unexplainable and unbelievable. Like things disappearing or just appearing out of thin blue, things falling into place, things crumbling around you. Hey, it's your world, so anything can happen to get you to your expanded living jump point. An unusual word choice from you that then is repeatedly appearing in things you read or from other people around you. Strange lights in the sky, sprites or other weird, wait a minute, let me get my thesaurus. Images that swim in and out of your vision, etc., etc. I would sort of group all of these into what I call awakening manifestations, as they feel like they are happening to you instead of by you, as opposed to the next group that some refer to as direct manifestations, which is very subjective. Direct manifestations are a vast selection of activities intended by one or more LLEs where they see in their mind's eye what they want to accomplish from starting to end point, the impacts to others, and have the wherewithal to achieve a selected activity by manipulation of the underlying fabric or energy of this world/universe, with or without the conventional mechanics of physics, motion, space, or time. Or one could describe a direct manifestation as an activity that defies any or all laws of physics. let's not spend too much effort in defining it, for that limits it by too much thinking. Let's explore some sampling with our awakening imagination. Okay, sample one. Well, I'll stop there. I'll stop there before we get into sample one.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts or ideas or things niggling at you?
I love it all, and there's some specific messages that I needed to hear today, like just some things that I felt like was exactly specific for me, answering things that I needed to know today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, didn't I tell you this was written for you, Jenny?
It's my manual. Finally, we'll figure it out.
I skipped that line. Sorry.
Jenny's
Yes. Jenny's manifesto.
The Genifesto.
Genifesto. That's perfect.
It's actually the Timifest. So good. It's really, it flows so perfectly, and it builds everything. It's just, I don't know, it's very beautiful and poetic. I love it.
Yeah.
It resonates very much with me. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. What also struck me, in that part too, where you were kind of joking.
It wasn't meant to hit you like that.
Was the, it's not everybody's blueprint is the same. Not everybody's house is going to be the same, and we can't really compare each other's journeys.
Well, that's
to
why
each
I
other.
threw in that recurring thing, which about house plans.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically focusing on concepts and ideas to expand your perspective and your imagination. It's not meant to give you specific answers. We can share those, but they should only be kind of guidelines to get you started and take you where you want to go. This is, I realize, because I'm well ahead on the pages, and I went back and read this today because I felt like I written this years ago.
You may have
last week, but
but it's just amazing the progression with this. It's the way it flows.
It's amazing.
Even when I'm reading it, I feel like I'm reading someone else's writing. But it doesn't matter. I don't feel like I'm actually writing. I feel like I'm living in somebody's, I don't know, kind of narrative of their funhouse. And it's giving me ideas and opening me up. So
yeah, it's very good. Very good.
All right, sample one, body modification. This may be piecemeal or wholesale changes to your vessel, your body. Remember, these are not changes to you, but to the ship you're piloting. This could include, but not limited to, eyesight changes, possibly blurry sight or seeing artifacts, hearing like ringing, buzzing, or maybe Morse code sounds, taste, restructuring of arms, legs, back, hips, etc., possibly deep healing from old injuries, teeth, hair, head, and even the feeling of touch. Yes, you're going crazy. And no, you'll never be the same again. So sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay, sample two. These early samples are just to kind of set the stage. Sample two, deviation from standard nutritional needs. Gina and I started to see this after reading and implementing the Plant Paradox book and associated meal selections. Do we recommend it? Yes. Is this for you? Only you can discern that for yourself. Are there other good approaches? I think there are many. This just happens to be the one we tried that opened our eyes to what food is. We also tried various fasts, which led me to renounce processed sugar and caffeine. Ultimately, we determined that our nutritional needs are far lower than we ever expected, and that the majority of our caloric intake had been from programmed, ritualistic feeding of our faces. I believe, yet I'm open to alternative views, that achieving expanded living is greatly assisted by not being as needy as we once were or are, and that food is one glaring area of high dependency. What I see occurring in the future is a release from our dependency, whereby people begin to eat what they want, when they want, no matter what the so-called experts say, and they manifest beautiful, healthy bodies because they overcome their fear of food, peer pressure, dependency, or lack they once believed they had. Not only that, I believe people will begin manifesting the kind of foods that resonate with their bodies right out of thin air. Can you imagine what your kitchen would look like without a refrigerator, oven, stove, or microwave? Holy crap. Can you imagine? Well, guess what? We've got a sample for you. Okay, here we go. Sample 3. Okay. This one's filled out a little bit more. This one's called For Want Of. Let's open our imagination spigot a bit more and play. The premise for this scenario is that you've addressed all your needs, dependencies, limiting beliefs, overthinking, and your maturing imagination has cracked open the door to expanded living. You now allow yourself to directly manifest anything you've previously experienced immediately in whatever state you require. This means anything from a grocery store, restaurant, farmer's market, hardware store, Wally World, or purchase you've made online. So let's see what that feels like. No more trips to the grocery store. When you want something to eat, poof, there it is. No more trips to the clothing store. If you want something to wear, poof, not only is it there, you're wearing it. Now, continue that for any previous purchase you've ever made. Let's see what that could do to your abode. Washer, dryer, throw them out. Closets or any storage rooms, come on, grab that sledgehammer and knock those walls down. Okay, so what else could you eliminate? Like dresser drawers, cabinets for dishes, fridge, oven, stove, microwave, pantries, all those tools in your garage, shed, or basement. We'll cover bathroom in another scenario. So what are you left with? I'd say lots and lots of free space and free time. Think about it. No more time spent on any kind of shopping. Sorry, ladies. No, this isn't punishment. You'll just be spending less time on have-tos and have more time to spend on want-tos. Could you handle that much idle time? You couldn't until you can imagine that you can and how. So, what are some ideas on how one might go about living within this world you manifested? Remember, you still have to do some things like eat, sleep, breathe, and work for now. But hasn't your need to work now been modified? Anything you need to purchase can now be manifested. For this exercise, let's say the only things you need to pay for are to make things yourself. Let's say the only things you need to pay for are to make things yourself or for the experience, like vacations, crafts, projects, entertainment, etc. Your house, car, or anything else requiring debt are either paid off or you manifest anew. So where does that leave your work requirement? I'd say that it becomes a matter of choice to work, or how much, or not at all. For now, we'll say that you work enough to cover your free time excursions for experiencing and things you want to make yourself. To that end, you decide to self-employ and pursue an endeavor that you've always wanted to do and you can do whenever you want or the need arises. You decide to keep your current vehicle, which is paid off, and all fuel maintenance is manifested by you. You stay in your current home, also paid off, but decide you want some improvements. Some you'll manifest, and some you'll do yourself for the experience. For the ones you'll manifest, even these become a creative project of placement. Remember, you've got all this possible new open space by removing the washer, dryer, stove, oven, closets, cabinets, etc., if you so choose. Let's say you remove most of them so you can revamp the house. You decide to get some friends to assist you with the kitchen remodel as you imagine it as more of a meeting, hangout, food consumption open space. This becomes a project that takes as long or as little time as you decide based on how much of it you manifest or manually do yourself. Meanwhile, you manifest completely new bathrooms, garage, basement, atriums, game rooms, indoor pool, apothecary, plant and animal sanctuary, art room for painting, sculpting, metalwork, music composition. We haven't gotten into the enhanced skills and abilities manifestation scenario yet. Suffice to say, you creatively labor on your home remodel until one day your imagination fades from the area of labor and ignites into the engagement experience arena. What calls to you now is a want to interact with others in more creative landscapes of sailing, RVing, flying, and space travel. Oh, hold on. That last one is the enhanced manifestation travel package and will require an additional 5 billion credits of imagination. Sorry about that. In any case, imagine sailing, RVing, or flying around the world to any bucket list item of wonder or intrigue with your manifestation abilities turned on. Most of us would love to travel and experience the world right now if it was more convenient, less expensive, we had the time, or other responsibilities weren't pulling on us. Imagine your imagination removing all barriers that limit your wants. For all of those who hold on to excuses, no worries. You have the power and ability to continue your manifestation of status quo and base living. However, I believe that's going to become increasingly more difficult to sustain as all our HLEs grant further and further waves of activations and awareness into our programming with the intent to upgrade our world from base existence to expanded living. Smile. This is going to be fun. And no, that wasn't me programming it. Well, maybe a little, for the highest good. Okay.
That's good.
So, yes,
Yeah.
and yes, I continue to be cheeky in this.
That's good. No,
it's so fun. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you like dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
It expands the mind.
That's what I see happening in the very, very, very near future, provided people find their way into this, either through hearing or reading my, these words, or they find their own way into expanding their perspective and their imagination. I think that's what's going to open the world into fun-loving excursions and groupings with other like-hearted people.
It's fun as you're talking, like my kitchen, the appliances are gone, and then it's turning into there's no more clutter. Then it's like it doesn't even have to be that kitchen. It can be any kitchen. It can turn into this kitchen. It can be outside. It just kept on morphing like into all this different cool stuff. It was really, really fun.
This is just to get you started. It's just to spark your imagination.
It's like it's an exercise almost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can borrow my house plans for a little bit, but only for a little bit. I'm taking them back here soon, and you're going to have to go make your own house plans.
I want to just clip some off and grow my own.
You're welcome to do it. Okay. We good?
Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, concept 5, manipulating expanded living. So far, we focused on base living view of high-level existence. Let's call that your, the base living view of high-level existence. Let's call that your benefactor. So from now on, we're going to call the HLE our benefactor.
Okay.
Okay. Low-level experiencer, that's all of us, which we're going to refer to as just experiencer.
Okay.
Base living, which is BL, expanded living, EL, will, intent, imagination, and manifestation. So far, we've just covered the base living view of all these things.
Okay.
Yes, even the last sample is a base level view of manifestation, since it is constrained to base needs and wants, with a limit to manifestation reserved to what you had experienced or purchased in the past. Before we dive into expanded living, let's address your benefactor. Why is it called an existence? High-level existence. From our self-imposed limited existence within a world at base living, our benefactor isn't limited by form, function, physics, time, or any other factor like we currently are inside a world. Even the reference of benefactor should be thought of as in concept form, as an entity that pays, or better yet, paves your way for this experience within a world of art. Any label from our finite language applied to your HLE imposes a danger, not to your benefactor, but to you, by possibly creating a barrier to your further understanding of how your benefactor relates to you, which will be developing further as you expand into expanded living. As we delve into the concepts and ideas of expanded living, take note of the point of view within each concept or idea, which you can also do in your own life. It's often very enlightening. So, what is expanded living? A simple answer might be any living beyond base living. Okay, I know. That's ambiguous, fabulously ambiguous. Expanding further without limiting you with my house plans, expanded living is rising above and not limited by base living wants and needs, base living will and intent, and programmed life through a spark of awakening of spirit and imagination that expands into unrestrained, free exploring, self-propelled, yet interconnected living of an advanced experiencer being. Unfortunately, for some of us, head-led, base living, programmed logic won't help us in clarifying this subject.
Mm-hmm.
This is the realm of the heart and imagination. Expanded living is expanded thought, expanded will, expanded intent, expanded imagination, expanded wants, expanded feelings, and expansion of a being.
Mm-hmm.
Residing in base living and trying to conceptualize expanded living is akin to living your whole life in the middle of Montana, having never left, to stare into a farm pond to gain some understanding of what the Pacific Ocean is like. Without imagination, either would be unbelievable. even with it. Both are but a surface view of the majestic, awe-inspiring, energetic flow of life that rarely crests its waves. To gain a truer sense of expanded living requires an expansion of beliefs, thought, and imagination. As they expand, a clearer knowing and feeling of your will and intent builds momentum and will light up your path into expanded living. This will be you, untethered from base living restrictions, to explore a brand new living experience that is only limited by what you can believe in and sustain through your upgraded will and intent. You have to see it to believe it. And that is where your expanded imagination comes in. The good news is you don't have to worry about it. You'll live whatever you believe. This whole manifesto, or whatever you want to call it, is your manifestation to alert you that this is happening within your world, and your benefactor is inquiring as to how would you like to participate. Each of us is being asked the same by our benefactors. The choices are endless, from staying on autopilot while it occurs to what could appear as a godlike view. Your benefactor knows your heart, for that is where the unaltered and unfiltered version of you, the pilot, stores your keepsakes, your true will and purpose. You dial in your reality by how close to or far away from your heart you wish to experience by way of involvement of logic and ego. There are no wrong answers, just your choice of experience. But for this segment of our experience that is now unfolding, our benefactors want to give us a heads up that you can upgrade your experience if you so choose. No pressure or judgment, just freedom of choice. What happens going forward, as always, is based on your choice within your heart, not the words you say. Anything we say or do externally is part of living in this world of art, like you're part of the play that's on stage, while your heart holds secret backstage communications with your benefactor. We just get caught up in the play, even other actors' parts, that we forget we have this backstage guide that can continually augment our roles for greater satisfaction, because said benefactor knows what our hearts want. Tapping more into this private line of communication is our path to expanded living. Then, how much we tap into that new path and elect its offerings will determine our level of expansion into expanded living. So how do we manifest this expanded living while living in the play? First, we can focus on what we want and not on what we don't want. Your heart, and thereby your benefactor, don't distinguish not. Going forward, as we refer to your heart, know that this signifies your heart to benefactor communication, which can also be called heart talk. In heart talk, to express the idea of not towards something, simply feel doubt about it, or remove your focus from feeling about it. Getting excited about becoming a musician informs your benefactor through your heart to prepare it for delivery. Yet feeling doubt cancels your order. By now, many of us probably have more canceled orders than delivered ones. But if it's something you absolutely do not want, then do not order it, which means avoid thinking and feeling about it. Now, some say avoidance isn't a viable approach to anything, but I say avoidance is like an eraser. We shouldn't need it, but it sure helps removing what we don't want. If you avoid something and it never comes up again, then I'd say your communication got through. If, however, it keeps reappearing within your bubble, some other part of your heart talk is placing those orders.
Mm-hmm.
So let's follow our own advice and avoid any further focus on what we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Let's spend our energy on what we do want. How do we communicate what we want through our hearts? We do this by sculpting our wants within our imagination. See, imagination is the secret language of the heart that bypasses the programmed logic of the brain. Just as music can deftly dance around the barriers of regular spoken or written words to conjure up touching heart song, your imagination has a language all your own that can play your heart like a fiddle to the tune of your will and the notes of your intent. All you have to do is allow yourself to remember how to play, and it will come back to you. Imagination is your world building within your heart. Summarizing on what we have on this, focus on what you want and makes you feel the way you want to feel, and avoid what you don't want. If the things you avoid keep coming up, you've got some excavating to do to find the cause. This may be as simple as pausing when these unwanted things come up to see what you are thinking about, so you can unwind to see or feel their true cause. The pause to consider method can work wonders by bringing you into the now moment. So let's say you're dealing with your unwanted stuff by whatever method you choose, and you've begun to focus more on what you want. This is when you really begin to separate the wheat from the chaff by asking yourself, what do I really want? When in doubt about something, experiment by reducing or eliminating it. If it keeps repeatedly coming back, then at least some part of you wants it. Geez, those pesky kids. Ow, I just...
Oh, good neck.
Okay. Once you've done that with all your current wants, you can start to expand your wants by utilizing your imagination. Imagine yourself painting, drawing, learning a new instrument, sculpting, sailing, RVing, snowboarding, learning to fly, writing, or any other hobby you can think of. If you can see yourself doing or at least trying any of these, go ahead and give it a go. If not, your imagination or motivation may be stuck in first gear. I grapple with the latter myself. So how do we awaken our imagination and or motivation? I'd say start with something at least a little out of your norm and see if it sparks more or something else. I chose making YouTube videos on this awakening we all seem to be encountering, which led to making lists of questions or observations I had, to now writing poetry and this manifesto. Who knew a former jarheads could read and form sentences, right? So what's next? I'll be okay. So what's next? Something grand. I wake up feeling it every day now, and I want to share it, hence these words. Maybe this undertaking will lead me to some answers for questions like, what is my purpose? Why am I made the way I am? Why do I think the way I think? Are there cheat codes for this life, this game of life? Are there ETs? Are they us as enhanced LLEs? What really happened on 9/11? Who is Q? Did I really run naked through campus back in college? Or was that just a dream? Are all males with big feet really well endowed with big ears? You know, all the standard questions we all have. What? Why is everyone looking at me like that? While answers to some of these questions would be useful, I'm more interested in sharing ideas and concepts. So
yeah.
I'll stop there before we get into sample 4. I did something to my neck. Oh, okay.
Is it better?
No, it's like something's poking me right there. It's saying, you forgot something. But all right, so where are we at?
Wow.
Did I lose anyone?
No, it's just so interesting. I want you to keep it's so good. I like listening to it.
So just keep hitting play on the audiobook. Okay.
Yeah, it's
twist my arm.
it is really good.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Sample 4.
It's like freeing or something.
Mm-hmm.
Exercising your imagination to move beyond base living, or not.
Mm-hmm. Good choice.
The premise for this scenario is you want to take off for 1 year and sail around the world. Go ahead and substitute RVing or any other travel method. Mm-hmm. What would it take to get you moving on this? Mm-hmm. Most people will have the standard reservations about leaving, so let's address those. Money is not an issue. For the cost of the trip, including the boat and supplies, all your current expenses are covered. Leaving your job is not a concern, and not meaning to be insensitive towards anyone's situation. Any responsibilities you have for loved ones is taken care of by either other loved ones or they go with you, including pets. Your house, car, and any other duties are all covered. You know what? Forget it. You're not going. It's already too much work to have fun. So forget it. Just kidding. Next, the boat you want is provided, as well as a 2-week training course on how to operate everything on it. As far as company, any significant loved one you would want to accompany you, and they could tolerate your company for a year, is raring to go. Okay, so the idea is that all normal restrictions have been eliminated that would keep you from going on a 1-year excursion, sailing, RVing, cruise, flying, horseback, saddled iguanas. Hey, these are housebroken, okay? Not only that, but you and everyone in your party are healthier than you've ever been. Energy and physical activity are not the least bit of a concern. Geez, after all this obstacle removing, I'm going with you. So now that's all taken care of. Would you go on this trip? There's probably quite a few of you who still wouldn't go, and I don't blame you. To be candid, I probably still wouldn't go. Here's my thinking. Even with all those stipulations, getting food, fuel, finding moorage, weather, doing boat maintenance and cleaning, cooking on a boat, mishaps, etc., 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 even with enough money to pay for all of it, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's still too inconvenient. And I love boating, beaches, the outdoors, water activities, the list goes on. But I don't love owning a boat because it's too much hassle. What is wrong with me? The thing is, there's nothing wrong with me. Well, other than my smelly feet. My hair and beard are too long. I forget to take the trash out. I like to dress up in superhero costumes just to go knock on the neighbor's door to ask if their cat needs saving. Okay. The first one isn't true. I've come to the realization that contending with inconvenience, especially when it comes to our free time activities and things we wish we could do, is a major stumbling block for our society.
Mm.
Why? Is it because we're lazy? Maybe. But even if, you know what, this writing thing just isn't worth it anymore. Even if I have a point to make and I enjoy it, I quit.
No, please.
Seriously though, has base living beat us down so much that having fun is too much work?
Mm. Yeah.
Here's what I feel.
Mm.
This experience in this world of art, despite being a great opportunity to explore our existence, has become too much like work. So much so that we've lost our edge.
Mm.
We aren't supplying our benefactors with enough high quality experience to make it worthy of their attention, nor ours.
Mm.
So on their behalf, I'm putting us all on sabbatical. Consider yourself on notice that henceforth you are on long-term vacation.
Mm.
I've done some calculations, so check my math. We've all been on solid duty for, about 12,000 years, and accruing vacation at approximately 50%. Hey, this is based on the latest rates I could telepathically get from satellite office over on Proxima Centauri B. Okay? Which leaves us with, hold on, 5 times, carry the 1. Okay, I got it. 6,000 years, give or take a decade or 3. Now add in combat and hazard duty pay, incidentals, and this has been a hostile work environment, right? Right?
Yes.
So all told, we'll round it up to 10,000 years of vacation even.
Nice.
This message may take 1 to 2 years to reach everyone, and the impact could cause some disorientation for some. So we would appreciate your assistance in helping to guide them to their egress points. Now, this may sound like a joke, but I assure you it's just on the wrong side of one. So, this sample was never about going on that 1-year trip. It's about taking stock of your current status. What are you serving up to yourself to shape your world as you live in it? You could take 10 people to Busch Gardens or any other family-friendly amusement park and release them for 12 hours of all-inclusive, prepaid, ride whatever rides you want, in whatever order you want, eat, take breaks, record your moments using the provided selfie stick, whatever you want, whenever you want. And you know what? At least 1 or 2 will come back and complain. And another 2 or 3 will say they're tired and ready to go back home, even if you offered them all another day in the park. This isn't a criticism. It's just an awakening observation. Have we lost our penchant for fun, expansion, and the ability to explore this grand experience of this miraculous world of art? I don't believe so, not yet. For some of us, we may have just had our favorite treat dropped 1 too many times in the dirt, and the taint of it happening again overshadows the ability to kneel down, pick the treat up, scrape off the dirt that's only on the surface, and enjoy what's left of a tasty, worthy experience that those who didn't get to go to the park would die for. It's not the dirty treat I'm focused on or concerned for. It's those of us who can't be bothered to pick up mud-smeared golden nuggets because their perception has been so degraded as to make the endeavor unworthy. This situation isn't an outlier. It's pervasive, and that makes it our concern. which calls the attention of our benefactors.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, it's time for a sabbatical. So go, pack your bags, get your hair done, wake the kids and the dog. We're going on a trip. Actually, you don't need to do anything. We aren't going anywhere. See, the issue isn't this world.
Mm-hmm.
That was created for us, by us, as in our benefactors. It's us, or more specifically, it's our perceptions of this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's evil and darkness, but there's also good and light, all occurring at the same time. If 99% of us focus predominantly on evil and darkness, thereby calling it forth by placing an order for it within our hearts, what do you feel we manifest? Whatever we have now in our worlds is there because our perception focused on those elements out of all the options and placed that order.
Mm-hmm.
This is counterintuitive to our head-based logic. We don't live in a world of cause and effect where things happen and then we perceive it. That's the logic of our programming, and it works fine for the simple base living level of existence. In the awakening to expanded living, which we are in and takes as long as each of us needs to adapt, all options are available to you at any given moment for you to perceive, filter, narrow down based on intent of experience, beliefs, and level of your programming. Then you choose by your shaped perception to a series of events that place that order to your heart for manifestation, which continues your experience. In base living, our programming is so extensive that our perception narrows to simple cause and effect. Excuse me. We see only what we can handle believing in. For expanded living, life isn't about just living this life. It's about expanding your perception and taking more control of the experience of this life you live. As we approach expanded living, we begin to escape the limits of our programming through a broader perception beyond simple cause and effect, into an awareness of selecting the desired effect before beginning the experience of living that effect. You've been living a version of this all along, only your autopilot has been doing most of the advanced portion, leaving you to perceive only the lower level experience of living. Hence, your LLV designation.
Mm-hmm.
It's now time to become aware of our option to expand our base living into expanded living by learning to operate at least the controls to our perception and our imagination.
Mm-hmm.
In the example at the beginning of this manifesto, where you were dropped into an amusement park visitor center in complete darkness before you found the flashlight, that's you knee-deep in base living.
Mm-hmm.
Finding the flashlight in that nook of a hidden storeroom signifies an awakening to your perception. This awakening sparks your imagination into how you might use that flashlight to light your way. You could, if you so choose, to stay in the visitor center with your newfound light. Or you could imagine yourself finding the main switch to the park's lights and illuminating the whole park. Choosing to do that symbolizes your first step towards expanded living. As you step out of the visitor center with your trusty flashlight, your perspective begins to broaden as you gain insight into how the park is organized. Here's where many people could get stuck and settle for a flashlight's view of the park, thinking they've stepped up in their world. But if they really utilize their perception, they'll realize none of the rides are operating, nor any of the other amenities. All they have is better concessions with no hot food. Engaging their imagination, they picture themselves finding the main power and flipping the switch to turn everything on. That is another big move towards expanded living and requires perseverance of will and intent to reach what they viewed in their imagination. Once they discern the pathway to the main power and flip the switch, their whole world lights up to expand their perception. This expanded perception can then fuel the next rounds of their imagination, opening up all new experiences into their world of creativity.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much in that section there that was, I mean, just the last part, if you think about, you go out of the visitor center into the park, you're just, first you just see it. Then you go down into it and you don't know where there's going to be another part that you can open up.
Yeah.
Piece that, I mean, it's just, but we've because we've been in this lower level experience, it feels like even just getting a view, like you said, with the flashlight, we're going, wow, look at all of that, and it's like, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
It's amazing.
Okay.
It's amazing.
We only have about 2, 4, 6 pages left. 5, 6 pages left.
Oh my goodness.
Of 60 pages.
Oh geez.
Of 60 pages.
Does it feel like we've been sitting here that long? No. Like you get portaled.
Right. We're an hour in. Okay. So let me go ahead and finish this, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, right. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, one question I'll say before you go that is, if people listen, just think about, just think about that question. What struck me when you were talking about, you could go boating and you could go all of this, all those things, reasons why you can't go. It's like, I'm going to do this summer. And then you go, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I don't know what I'm going to do it a lot. So I'd say meditate on that and you'll get that unfolding even more for you. But
yes,
my thought. Yes. Question. Yes, go ahead.
I covered.
Oh, okay.
Sample 5, perceiving and imagining your path to expanded living. For this scenario, we'll use the premise from sample 4, the 1-year sailing trip, as a starting point. But this time, we won't focus on minimum requirements to get us to go. Instead, we'll use our perception and imagination to see our way to the perfect trip that we can imagine. Again, I'm using sailing for our example, but feel free to imagine RVing, flying, or any other travel method. As a reminder, all responsibilities and expenses are covered, and the boat is ready. The only things that hang in the balance are the inconvenient items I mentioned in sample 4. Let's address those with some imagination, using the premise from sample 3, for want of, as a guide. Remember, in that one, you could directly manifest anything you've ever previously purchased or had experience with. Ready? Here we go. First, let's start with the boat. Since you can manifest, we're going to remove all the following from the boat. Like we did before. Refrigerator. Okay, all these are removed. Refrigerator, oven, stove, microwave, all storage space except for a few to house keepsakes plus a little extra. And most cabinets gone. Basically, we're left with living corners minus most storage, since clothes and other items can be manifested as wanted. Showers, toilets, sinks, parlor for hanging out, entertainment centers, with large screens and internet. YouTube videos, various lounge areas, and the ship's controls. That should free up a lot of space. And yes, the boat is customizable. Food is on demand as requested. Fuel and water are also manifested on demand. Boat maintenance and cleaning are both manifested. Boat mishaps don't occur unless manifested. Moorings and dock slips are also manifested. Are you beginning to get the theme? For boat handling and weather, I'm making an executive decision that those can be manifested if you so choose, in order for everyone on board to get the maximum pleasure. Also, any skill, knowledge, or capability associated with the boat or the water is at your beck and call, like knowing how to scuba dive, snorkel, free dive, etc. I told you this was going to be imaginative. Just to spice this up a bit, everyone on board can morph their body to any appearance they so choose. Now, that feels like a trip worthy of experiencing for at least 5 or 6 months. Whoa, that's all right. This trip is supposed to last at least a year. What's the hang up? Choice. Now that I have this freedom of imagination, a new perception, and plenty of vacation time, I want freedom of movement. Just being honest here. So here's an idea. I can maintain the imagination and perception for. Whenever I want, I can bloop from my current location and bloop to any location I choose. It's no big deal. Star Trek has its transporter and I have mine. Only mine is inside me where I can control it. Since I can see myself doing it, I'm adding it to my repertoire. Is there anything else? Such as flying like Superman or swimming underwater like Aquaman? Funny, now that you mention those items, why not? Movies like those have already done a great service to our imaginations. Why hold back now that the door to expanded living is cracking open? If you can picture yourself doing anything from flying unaided, blooping, conjuring magic, to exploring space, not only is it feasible, it's very likely to be occurring in your very near future, provided you have the perseverance of intent and you can shift your perspective to include it. Now that we have all these stipulations in place, let's live the sample a little. We're in the South Pacific on the boat, anchored in the crystal clear lagoon of an island. We spend a day snorkeling and exploring the island. The day is glorious with all our needs and wants met. Life couldn't get any better, or could it? In watching YouTube videos, we see other landscapes we'd like to visit, like the pyramids. Time to test out this newfangled blooping capability. Bloop! And we're standing outside the Great Pyramid. We stand in wonder at its majesty, walking around its perimeter. But now, we want to explore its hidden and blocked off views from inside. No problem. Bloop! Access granted until we're ready to see another room. Bloop! Explore. Bloop! Explore until our satisfaction is met. By now, we're ready to get back to the boat. Bloop! And we're back, lounging around, trading stories about the experience. Over the following weeks, bloop! Explore, trade stories, bloop! Explore, trade stories, until we're all explored out and settled back into boat life. We're all feeling revitalized and blessed at our fortune. That is, until one of us shows the rest some YouTube videos of people still grappling with base living. How can we justify, not that we need to, living such a blessed life while others struggle finding the secrets we found. We put our hearts together and decide to leave the boat as is and bloop, back to civilization to spread the concept of expanded living to those ready to listen. By now, all of us from the boat, in my sample, I have about 10 people, are all directly manifesting, and each will serve, as they so choose, as beacons of light to the virtues of expanded living. So how do we do that? Everyone living within base living has a right to and is manifesting their own limited experience. What right do I have to force expanded living on them? I don't. Not if I truly love and respect them. So what are my options? One glaring option is to show by example, since only those who have elected to expand their perception will see those things along the path to expanded living. The good news is you can't screw this up. Well, maybe Jenny can.
I'm sure I can.
See, for those who haven't yet allowed their beliefs and thoughts and imagination and perception to expand, you could expound the wondrous features of expanded living until you're blue in the face, yet they won't be able to comprehend. Actually, they'll just think your marbles have come loose and go back to their comfort and go back to the comfort of those who think as they do. The respectful and loving approach is to live the life you choose with nothing to prove nor in defense of, and await their inquiries into how you live and do what you do. It is then you'll feel that their perception has broadened enough to see some of your beacon. In engaging with them, let them feel your caring energy without demands and allow them to want to perceive more. Meanwhile, those who have expanded their perceptions may want to consider forming communities of light to share ideas, concepts, and their stories of imagination so as to make them available to the waves of people who begin to perceive the light. This will begin the mass exodus from the old, programmed, limiting life of base living darkness into new, free-flowing, boundless energy of expanded light world. The shift in perception alone will crumble the walls of established doctrine, schools of thought, and controlled morality, and set the stage for expansive growth in imaginative, interconnected, expanded groupings of advanced beings who wish to explore, consult, regale, commune, and sing a new cosmic song of friendship. If we collectively pull the energy of our perception away from the corrupted, top-dominated, fear-based, shadowed empire of lies and deceit, and focus our perception into the heart-based, inclusionary, free-spirited collaboration of world building, imagine what we could do with it. We're only limited by, well, whatever we believe we are. But at the same time, we're as boundless as our imagination can expand our perceptions and beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was
wow.
Well, we did 17, so that was 47 pages.
Jeez.
I just read to you.
Wow.
An hour and 14 minutes in.
Wow. That was good.
It was a great bedtime story.
Yeah, it unlocks. It just starts to unlock.
Are you saying I put you to sleep?
No.
It's
good for dreams.
I told you.
It's good to go into dream time with that imagination. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic, honey.
So how are we feeling?
It's just good. It really does. It unlocks your brain. It makes it expansive where you can, I can't even talk right now.
So I know, shut up and go write another 60 pages.
Yeah.
No, it's really,
More of the story.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you just don't even realize where you're blocking your imagination or where your imagination is not even existent until you hear some of that. And then it's like, oh, it's layers, and it just keeps like, there's so much we do to limit it. And it opens the possibilities. It opens the possibilities, and it feels like excitement and freedom. That's kind of the energy pieces that I feel.
Yeah. See, I want to watch this video and I want to hear it read to me.
Yeah.
Even though it's by me, and that's a little narcissistic.
No, I get it. I get it because it's different. It'll be totally different hearing it come back.
I've never heard the words read to me.
That's right.
I'm only the one reading them. And that perspective is limited.
Yeah.
Even though it's expanding, it's still limited.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're scribing them, then you're reading them. Now you'll get to hear them. And yeah. They're different layers. It is different layers. Yeah.
I'm just writing them down as the real author says them to me.
As your benefactor.
Because I'm the bottleneck. I'm the one slowing the process down. So, but it seems like I've opened it up. So now it's coming through much steadier now, much more crisp and expansive now. And it's because I'm letting it. I'm not getting in its way.
Nice.
Enjoy that energy flow from it, because it does starts to unlock all kinds of things for you. So beautiful. Thank you,
Tim.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are we complete?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's like I said, just over an hour and 15 minutes. So not that I'm worried about it, but I want to get a sense, and I do respect people's time and what they have to go through, but they can always pause anytime they want or whatnot. So
Right.
Until they learn to manipulate it for themselves.
Right now, they're just manifesting me writing words and then reading them to them.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
So I'm their mobile audible.
Yes.
So all right, that's good.
All right. Bye.